Right, just welcome everybody, and I have done to the meeting of the executive on the 30th of September 2020. Hand over to Steve.
Good morning, Leader and members. This meeting is being held under the recent government regulations brought in to allow for remote meetings to take place and to allow for decisions to be made. Hopefully those present will hear the meeting. However, in the event of a technical failure, the Leader will adjourn the meeting and set a new time to reinstate the meeting. Please note that this is being recorded and a copy of the recording will be available on the Council's YouTube channel in the next few days. All members of the committee should have their video on, but which should remain muted until invited to speak. If you wish to attract the Leader's attention, please make use of the instant messaging function or raise your hand if needed or speak for those that are joining as guests. And the format of the meeting will be as per the agenda published. Over to you, Leader.
Thank you very much. I'm now going to ask each councillor and officer taking part in the meeting to introduce themselves and confirm that they can see, but at least hear me before we start the official business of the committee. So I'll start with myself. I can certainly see me, yep, and hear me. Councillor Slocum.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Jill Slocum, portfolio holder for Inward Investment and Growth. I can see and hear everything.
Thank you. Councillor Caswell.
Good morning, Leader and everybody. Councillor Mike Caswell, portfolio holder for Infrastructure and Transport. I can clearly hear and see everybody.
Thank you. Councillor Duddridge.
Yeah, good morning all. Councillor Lance Duddridge, portfolio holder, customer access and visual delivery. I can now see and hear everything.
Brilliant, brilliant. Councillor Gilling.
You're muted. You're muted.
Right. Can you hear me now?
We can indeed.
Right. Councillor Andrew Gilling, portfolio holder for transport. For housing. That's a deja vu. I can confirm that I can hear and see everything.
Thank you, Councillor Healy.
Mark Healy, portfolio holder for commercial and asset management. I can confirm I can see and hear everything.
Councillor Keane.
Good morning, everyone. Janet Keane, portfolio holder for communities and wellbeing. I confirm that I can see and hear everybody.
Good, it's all going well so far. That's brilliant. Now I'll just go over to officers present here today, if they could introduce any further officers that they've got with them, please, starting with the Chief Executive.
Morning, everybody. Alison Griffin, Chief Executive, and yes, I can see and hear everybody. Thank you.
Mr. Brown.
Hi, Bob Brown, Strategic Director. I can confirm I can see and hear everything.
Melanie Wellman.
Yes, Melanie Wellman, Assistant Director for Legal and Governance and Monitoring Officer, and I can see and hear everything.
Thank you. Claire Fawn.
Hi, Claire Fawn, Corporate Relations Manager. I confirm I can see and hear everything.
Thank you. Rose Stokes, welcome.
Hello, Rose Stokes here. I'm just here today supporting Democratic Services.
Thank you. Who else have we got? Oh, yes, Mr. Bamsey.
Good morning, Doug Bamsey, Strategic Director. I can confirm I can hear and see everything.
Yeah. And Mrs. Turner.
Good morning, Alison Turner, Assistant Director of Finance and Property and Council Section 151 Officer. I can confirm I can see and hear everything. I've got Tanya Mather with me, Corporate Accountant, today to present the initial medium-term financial plan.
Thank you. And Layla. Steve.
Yeah, not often that Layla's quiet. Steve Taylor, Committee Manager. I confirm I can see and hear you, Leader.
Thank you. I think we were aware that Layla could see and hear because she was certainly telling us that she could earlier. So we'll take that as read. Right. So if you're happy, then we'll go to the agenda proper. And are there any apologies?
No, Leader.
Thank you. Minutes. to approve the minutes of the executive on the 5th and 12th of August. Is there anyone who doesn't wish to approve them or feels that there is a problem with them? They have been previously circulated. Deputy Leader.
No, leaders. I'd just like to move the minutes, please.
Okay. Anyone, any objection to agreeing the minutes? Are you okay with that, Steve?
Yes, Leader, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Declarations of interest, item 3. We have none. Good. Moving on to urgent business. I'd like to just let people know that I will be stepping out of the meeting at 11 o'clock in order to have a ministerial briefing. And hopefully Mr. Brown will be able to join me for that. And as a result of that, we're making slight changes to the agenda. We'll do initially item 6, initial medium-term financial plan in the place as 6. Then in 7, we'll go to information systems strategy. 8 will be digital inclusion strategy, and 9 will be the ED strategy, at which point I'm sure Councillor Smedley will have a few words to say. So that'll be the running order for today, and I will step out just before 11 if it's at all possible and get back as soon as I can. Public speaking, we have no members of the public present. So without further ado, we'll go straight into the initial medium-term financial plan. And welcome to the 151 officer and Tanya. And I will say here that, like all local authorities, we have experienced unusual pressures on our finances. But I have to say that in this current year, we have accommodated those pressures exceedingly well. Who knows what the future is going to bring, and certainly next year and the year after will be an interesting time for us all. It's rather like crystal ball gazing at the moment. So without further ado, hand over to Mrs. Turner.
Thank you, Leader. We've prepared a very short presentation just to bring out the main points of the initial medium-term plan at this stage. I'll hand over to Tanya just to do the first part, and then she'll hand back to me and obviously take any questions at the end, if that's okay.
That's fine, thank you.
Hello, everybody. So how do we move the slides on? Do I have to, right? So every year when we start looking at the budget process, the first part of the budget process is really we close the accounts for the previous year, and we look at the initial medium-term financial plan. So we have a very high-level budget timetable here. A lot of work goes on behind the scenes to meet all of these things in the timetable. So we're at the very beginning of the budget process now with the initial MTFP, setting sort of the parameters for the budget process. Oh, someone's calling me. Sorry. So we've still got a long way to go on our journey. The MTFP is slightly later this year than normal. Normally it's in August, but we've had lots of other work to do, and it's taken a bit longer to do. But the budget consultation is out at the moment, so the next part of the budget process will be to do the full medium-term plan, which will be coming in November, which then leads on to the rest of the budget process with the final setting the council tax in February. So I think this year's budget process will be slightly more challenging than normal years. So if we go on to can we go on to the next slide? So when we prepare the medium-term financial plan, we have to make a lot of assumptions within that to be able to come out with the figures at the end. So here is a list of some of the assumptions that we've used in the medium-term plan. So first of all, we always assume a 2% pay award in the medium-term plan based on previous experience. Actually, for 2021, it was slightly higher at 2.75%. So we've had to build in a bit of extra money, and that's had an impact on the whole term of the medium-term plan. With COVID, the rollout of the new Sort It Plus Recycle More, has been delayed a little bit, so that the savings from that have been slightly delayed. We took a decision last year to start adding on inflation onto drainage board levies because they have been going up each year, so we've got that built into the plan. Business rates and council tax I'll talk about in the next couple of slides. As you know, revenue support grant is now gone, so we don't have any of that, so we rely on our funding really from business rates and council tax now. We have included 3 growth bids within the plan as well, so that's another 264,000, and they're ongoing. Sorry, 2 of them are ongoing and one of them's a one-off. So if we can go on to the next slide. So with business rates retention, we have to the business rates multiplier now increases with CPI, which is the consumer price index. That changed a couple of years ago, so it's slightly lower than RPI, and we normally estimate that about 2%. So throughout the whole plan, any inflationary increases we normally estimate about 2%, because that's what it seems to run at really. And we've estimated that for the whole of the plan. The government have been on about changing to 75% business rates retention, but they've now delayed it again, and that another year, because obviously they're concentrating on COVID. With the business rates, we're in a pool for this business rates pool for this year, and we've just had the invitation to pool for next year. So there'll be we need to do some work around whether that's viable to be in a business rates pool next year. So we have to do some work on that. So if we can have the next slide. So with council tax income, there's 2 ways that the council tax income can increase via the tax base and the tax rise. So we normally, most years, the average tax base increase is between 0.5% and 1.5%. So normally we estimate a 1% rise in the council tax base as an average. However, for 2021-22, we've actually, for the first year in my memory, actually we were estimating potentially a reduction in the tax base, and that's due to COVID, because there's we've in the MTFP we did some scenarios, sort of a worst case, a best case, and a likely case scenario of what we think might happen with the tax base. So we obviously took the likely one, but that assumes a level, the growth in houses reducing slightly because they weren't have been able to be built. An increase in council tax support, which actually reduces the tax base, and we think that there may be a knock-on effect of the collection rate based on people being unable to pay their council tax. So with all of those assumptions in place, we think there's possibly a reduction of 1.6%. And then we've assumed back to the 1% growth from 22-23 onwards. With the tax rise, we've assumed, as in previous years, that we'll be allowed to put it up by a maximum of £5. So we've built that into the plan. And even with all of this, we're still one of the lower, in the lower quartile for council tax in the country, which is really good. So the next slide, Alison will be doing.
Thank you, Tanya. So this is a slide that you'll be familiar with, and what this shows over the next 5 years is that the expenditure that we're estimating based on the assumptions that Tanya's just run through exceeds the external income that we're estimating will come in. As you know, we've got a managed use of balances approach, so we have got balances to help us with the funding gap. But if we didn't make any reductions or bring in any increased income, we'd be in a situation now, as you can see, that we'd be below our minimum level of balances of 1.5 million by 22-23, based on the assumptions in the plan. So so that would be the situation without any reductions or increased income. Can we move on to the next slide, please? Thank you. And just in terms of our net funding that comes in, it's interesting, this pie chart, because it has changed significantly over the last sort of 5 years or so, because revenue support grant was a big element of the external funding that we had, and we know now that that's disappeared. We were told that the business rates retention scheme would come in terms of us being allowed to keep more of our business rates locally, and that has been delayed, and as Tanya said, it's been delayed further. So it's really uncertain times at the moment in terms of what our funding will be going forward, and you can see there from this graph that the council tax section is getting bigger and bigger in terms of the percentage, with the restrictions that we've got on how much we can put the council tax up, and also the tax base, particularly for next year, being in a minus situation. This does impact on the funding that we've got coming in. As Tanya said, it's the first year that I ever remember the tax base going down. We've had good growth in our district for many years, and it is mainly the impact of COVID on the tax base. That's why we've put it back up to 1% for the following years, because hopefully that will recover by then. Next slide, please. Just so, you know, in the medium-term financial plan, we've got lots of issues that we need to consider as part of the medium-term plan, and we have that every year. I'd say this year it's probably been even more challenging to put together the figures because of the uncertainties with clearly the future of local government in Somerset. The medium-term financial plan is based on staying status quo, because we couldn't really do anything different to that. But we know that that's going to have an impact potentially within the 5 years of the plan. Drainage board levies, we were told last year that they were likely to go up significantly, and although we've included a RPI increase, we have got in growth, we've highlighted that there might need to be more money built in. Climate change is a big issue there. We haven't built a growth bid in for next year yet, but the officers are saying that the projects they're working on, they are looking to have a growth bid of about 200,000. So I guess for the next iteration of the medium-term financial plan, there'll be more detail in terms of that growth bid. We've still got likely financial impact of Brexit. We've got our apprenticeship scheme that's been in place for several years now, which has been very successful. If we want to continue with more apprentices next year, then we'll need to build some extra funding in. We have already highlighted and funded the 3 graduate trainees, additional graduate trainees, but this would be for the apprenticeship scheme. And as we've said, there are impacts of COVID-19. We've built that into the medium-term financial plan as to what we know about, but the impact on the economy going forward and on businesses is really difficult to articulate at the moment. So we have built in the impact in this year and impacts that we know, or we think we know, in next year in terms of business rates and council tax, but we won't know what the full impact's likely to be for some time. Okay, thank you. This is our medium-term savings plan. As you know, we've for many years now had a strategy of using our managed use of balances to smooth out the savings needed each year to balance the medium-term budget, and we've very much focused on balancing the budget over 5 years, not just 1 year in isolation. So these are the projects that we've still got in place. We've got the customer access programme. We have moved those savings on a year because of the current year and the impact on the work programme in terms of the impact of COVID. We've built in the savings from the waste contract because when Recycle More is implemented, there is going to be savings built in from 22-23. We've still got the commercialism strategy, income from our trading activities, and the loan interest on the commercial loans that we've given out. So we're still in a good place, and those reductions in increased income would have meant that we could balance the budget at this particular stage. Just go on to the next slide, please. So there, what we've done is we've split out the savings needed for business as usual and COVID-19. So our savings plan with our balances that we've got would have been okay to balance business as usual. They are challenging targets, but that's what we're working towards. But with the just under 3 million impact of COVID-19 that we're estimating, that's a net impact after the government grants that we've got. We've still got a gap, but we have got options to fund those gaps using specific reserves if we want to deliver a balanced budget. So in terms at this stage, based on the assumptions we've used, considering the economic climate, we're in a good financial position. Move on, I think that's the last slide. And we're just reminding members here of the recommendations that we've got within the initial medium-term financial plan. There are on recommendation 3, we are still recommending that we use £830,000 from the New Homes Bonus Fund for revenue figures. And I've just heard today, it looks like we might keep New Homes Bonus for another year while the government review it in terms of the spending review. We've got supplementary estimates for the Microsoft licenses and internet costs. We've got the recommendation 5 to support the 3 graduate trainee posts, and recommendation 6, and that's just to redesignate a budget for work on the Stronger Somerset project. Thank you. Just over to questions now, if anyone's got any questions.
Right, I think I saw Janet Keen's hand up, did I?
Yes, you did. Thank you, Leader. It's a relief for Alison to say that we can balance the budget. Could we have some detail on any income from our investments which might offset the first time that we're having to budget for things like climate change, the expenditures that are going to be coming this way? I'll take my hand down now.
Sorry, I'm not quite sure. So in terms of climate change budget, we've got a growth bid. We haven't built a growth bid in yet, but there's likely to be a growth bid coming through for climate change budget and initiatives. Just over 200,000.
There are requests and applications going to come our way, as you said, £200,000, and probably, I suspect there may be 1 or 2 more throughout the year. But do we have any? What are the income we have from our investments that may help to offset that?
In terms of our treasury management investments, is that the investments that you're?
We've invested in external businesses over the last few years, and until COVID happened, which changed everything, they were on track to provide us with a small income to supplement what we're getting elsewhere.
Yeah, so part of our medium-term balancing the budget strategy has been to invest money in pooled funds in terms of treasury management investments. We've also got the 50 million that was approved for investing in properties. So all of the income that we're getting from those sources have helped balance the budget, which hopefully will give members the scope to agree additional funds for projects such as climate change. We have had to scale down the estimated income from both treasury management and commercial properties to an extent, just because of the impact of COVID. But all of that is built into the figures presented today.
We don't put investment or treasury management income into a special fund. It goes into the general fund, and in order to balance the budget as part of our budget balancing process. And it's interesting, Alison mentioned the fact that our income sources have changed over the years, and the majority of our income is coming from council tax. It wasn't so many years ago that 70% of our income was through government grant. So we've certainly turned things around quite effectively over recent years to become non-reliant on government grant, which is no longer in existence. Councillor Slocum.
Thank you, Leader. I'm really pleased to see and hear we're in a good financial position. And I have to say, I thank you very much and your team for this, because we have gone through a very, very difficult process. Life is difficult anyway, but what you've been through, what we've all been through rather, is even worse. What I would like to ask is about option 5. I see we're supporting the request for the additional graduate posts from the Community Development Fund. Does the apprenticeship scheme come out of the same development fund, or is that a separate fund?
That's a separate fund.
It's a separate fund, but it is funded from the Community Development Fund. The Community Development Fund was set up using New Homes Bonus funding, and we fund quite a lot of different initiatives from that fund. But so the apprenticeship scheme is funded from that, but it's a separate pot.
Okay. May I just ask? Is there a ceiling to that fund, or is it just is it open ended, or?
Usually with the apprenticeship fund, we top it up to 250k each year. So depending on how many apprentices we've employed, we top it up to 250,000.
Oh, it's excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
Right, I'll just go to Councillor Revens. Anything? Or Councillor Smedley? No. Okay. Right. Any other members of the executive? Any comments or questions? Any officers? Any comments or questions? Before I go, Mr. Bamsey.
Thank you. As was noted by Alison, the suggestion from the Power Drainage Board is an increase, which we were told about last year, substantially above inflation. Clearly, dialogue with the IDBs from now on is going to be really, really important. And I think in that regard, our members, which are members of the IDB, will be very much part of that, because that will be a very substantial additional impact on our budgets. And you'll notice that 16% was suggested. So that's something clearly we need to work very carefully with the IDB on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. And it'd be interesting to note that we may be the 47th lowest in the country for council tax, but if the Internal Drainage Board money was not part of our, or we didn't have to precept it, we'd probably be in the top 10, if not the top 5. So it's quite a considerable strain on our finances, which we have little choice or no choice about. But we are currently working on with other local authorities who are in similar positions. Chief Executive.
Thank you, Leader. I just felt I needed to say I think it's in the circumstances it's an extremely positive report. An awful lot of work has gone into it, and I think I won't use the words unprecedented, although I just used it. But I mean, we are going through times now where there's so much happening, not only COVID, but planning for the future, and the ability really to do a 5-year MTFP. Yes, we can do it for Sedgemoor, but who knows what the future will bring. I'm sure we will see changes from the initial plan through to the final plan when it's presented around Christmas time and then in the new year. But I think generally the message is we're in a really positive position. We've managed the finances well. The government funding has helped. There's no doubt about that. But I think it's really important now that we keep a very close eye on what's happening. Look to our aspirations for the future as well, because we've got some quite exciting things coming forward, and we need to make sure that we're providing for those as well. But overall, I think it's a report that we should be really pleased with. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any other comments or questions? Councillor Slocum.
Sorry. Thank you, Leader. I would just like to move the 6 recommendations, please.
Thank you. They will be moved and they have been seconded by me, and they will be recommendations for council, my understanding. So the recommendations moved and seconded. Can we take a roll call of vote then? Councillor Slocum.
Yes, I'm in favour. Leader, I've seen and heard the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Caswell.
Yes, Leader, I've seen and heard all the debate, and I'm in favour of the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Doddridge.
Yes, Leader, I've seen and heard all the debate and I'm in favour of the recommendations.
Thank you. Councillor Gilling. Councillor Gilling. You're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yes.
No, can't hear you now.
Oh, proposal.
Is that you've seen and heard everything and you will support the proposal? Yes. Thank you. Right, Councillor Healy.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I've seen and heard the whole debate, and I'm in favour of the proposed way forward. Thank you.
And before I come to Councillor Keane, I would just reiterate what the Chief Exec has just said. We are in an amazingly good financial position, despite what's been going on over recent year. But who knows what the future holds for anybody and what the finances will look like in the future. But at the moment, it's looking very positive. Councillor Keane.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I've seen and I've heard all the debate, and I agree the recommendations. I would also say Sedgemoor is one of the best places to live.
Thank you. And I've seen and heard and vote to support. And thank you very much to Alison and Tanya for the presentation today and for all the work that they've done in not the easiest of circumstances, the same with most officers at the moment, but it's great to have it coming forward at this time. Thank you very much. Mr. Taylor.
Unanimous, Leader.
Thank you very much. Right, without further ado then, moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is the adjusted item, which will be the information systems strategy. Is that Councillor Duddridge going to kick off on that one?
It is, if that's okay, Leader. Thank you. Yeah. As members can see, this is a report that combines a lot of fairly technical information. So I'm very happy to say that Craig Wilkins is with us today to give us some detail. Just by way of introduction, I'd say that the report outlines the IS strategy for the next few years. That will enable us to work within the council and with external partners to deliver core services to our customers. It will also enable us as a council to balance advances in technology with ongoing council priorities to make us a more efficient and responsive organisation. As well as delivering core services, the strategy will also enable us to move into other areas such as increased commercialisation and new ways of working both for our staff and our partners. Without further ado, I'll hand over to Mr. Wilkins, I think.
Thank you. And if Craig, you could just confirm that you can see and hear everything that's going on as well. Thank you. You may not want to, but you may. Councillor Duddridge, I thought you had Mr. Wilkins in your pocket.
No, he should be far away, actually. I don't know if Steve told him he's on.
I have indeed, Councillor.
He'd no doubt be with us very shortly. I can go and just see if he's about.
I think we'll move on and come back to that agenda item. Can we go on to the digital inclusion strategy, item number 8?
Yeah, and I'm just hoping that Kevin Chorley's on the premises for this or somewhere.
Yeah, I've seen Kevin here, so
I am indeed.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, like I said, before I hand over to Kevin, I'll just say this is probably more customer facing of the two reports we're bringing forward today. I know Kevin and everybody's done a lot of work on this. It ties in with our CAP program. Also, as it says in the report, there's been implications from COVID-19 on our digital strategy, digital inclusion work. But I'll hand over to Kevin and I could take any questions on the report afterwards.
Thank you. Mr. Chorley, over to you.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Councillor Duddridge. I've prepared a brief presentation. Steve, have you got that to present?
No, is a quick answer, but I'll quickly find it if it's.
Okay. It's only 4 or 5 slides. It's nothing major.
Was it sent to myself or to Andrew?
It would have gone to Andrew.
Right.
I've just sent it you again, Steve, just in case you're struggling to find it.
It's all right. I will get it up for members now. Just try and present it.
Perfect. Thank you very much. We unfortunately didn't get to hear the IT strategy beforehand, but a lot of this digital inclusion work, as Councillor Duddridge made reference to, is it does cross over with a lot of the points within the IT strategy. So I'm very, very conscious that we need to be working extremely close together to achieve our common goals set out within both the strategies. There are strands of both strategies as well, particularly the digital inclusion one, that also cross over with the customer services strategy and the overarching digital strategy as well. So this document sort of sits alongside and accompanies those three. It is exactly what it says on the tin. It is about digital inclusion and reducing digital exclusion. This isn't about Sedgemoor going to digital by default. This is very much about delivering services, digital services, for our customers that are by choice. So this is about us increasing contact channels, increasing a customer's ability to interact with us digitally, building digital confidence, and in some way, shape or form, replicating the exercise that we did within the organisation as well, our digital skills audit, replicating that in the community as well to understand our customers, where we are digitally as a district, and how we can put things in place to overcome that. Some work has already begun. We're already in discussions with the Department of Work and Pensions. We're already in discussions with Local Citizens Advice as well about delivering customer access points. So this is about taking our digital inclusion work out into the district to meet customer needs. There will be a large data gathering exercise, and we're currently working with the economic development team on that. They have a project ongoing at the moment around digital poverty, and there are some strands of work again that cross over. So we're working with each other there, so there's no duplication, and we're able to pull resources between the two service departments to jointly work on this digital poverty and digital inclusion work that's currently going on. So we would be looking to commission some sort of report as well as a data gathering exercise. We'll be looking at the areas of mass deprivation. We'll be looking at age demographics. We'll be looking at things like broadband coverage. And from that data, we would be identifying key areas within the district that are digitally excluded for a number of reasons, not just broadband coverage, but like I say, for a number of reasons. And we'd look to overlay that on some sort of heat map and decide which places within the district are key for us to tackle as a first point of call. Steve, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. Thank you. So as I've made reference to there, this is about building digital confidence, tackling digital exclusion within the district. There are numerous benefits for us taking the digital inclusion work outside of these council offices and offering it in customer access points and upskilling our customers. Not to mention the fact that there's a carbon footprint benefit to it as well. If you take the area of Cheddar, for instance, and public transport, if somebody has an appointment at our council offices in Cheddar, typically on public transport you travel out of the district into Mendip first and out towards Wells before coming back into Bridgewater. By my last recollection was about an hour and a half, an hour and 40 minutes on a bus, which isn't particularly great, but being able to provide a service in those areas such as Cheddar, having an officer on hand, we can conduct meetings via Skype or Teams as it is now, with housing officers, benefits officers, you know, taking that service to the customer, giving them confidence digitally to begin interacting with us. We are looking to upskill as well. There are numerous benefits. It's proven that there are numerous benefits to being online and being digitally capable. I've mentioned just a couple here on this slide. It's about empowerment, which is a key point from this strategy as well. If we can empower our customers and give them the skills to get online, then the opportunities that potentially brings for our customers are massive. It has the potential to tackle social isolation and loneliness as well. In conversations with Jerry Milton, we've joked about chat rooms and dating agencies and things like that. You know, people being able to get online and make use of these. But in all seriousness, they are key platforms that can address an issue of isolation and loneliness, and having that digital ability to get online and make use of those services can be life-changing for some people. So again, our digital inclusion work isn't just concentrating on council services and interacting with the council digitally. This is a much broader piece of work. This is about somebody bringing a laptop to us and saying, I don't know how to get online, can you help me? This is about somebody bringing a mobile phone to us. I don't know how to get my emails on my mobile phone, and us being able to help them and then being in a position to do that, as well as offer the council services digitally. Thank you, Steve. Next slide. There are key points that run through the strategy. It's from my perspective, it's important that we are ambitious. This isn't about the district council just polishing our current services. This is an opportunity for us to do something really exciting, really different, set the bar high, be ambitious with our digital wants and our digital aspirations for our customers, setting out the clear action plan as we have done in the strategy, and getting a framework, a nice solid framework together with our partners, a timeline, set ourselves goals across the life of the strategy to actually deliver on tangible targets. So there's evidence coming from the end of it that actually, you know, yes, we're saying we've done this work. How has it impacted on our customers? How can we evidence that actually there has been a real benefit to us digitally including customers, you know, and reducing that digital exclusion within the Sedgemoor area? And as I made reference to, there are plenty of opportunities for us to do things better digitally, do more digitally, in the hope that our customers will get on board with us, and again, that digital confidence for our customers to interact with us. Thank you, Steve. Any questions?
Right. Okay. Excuse me. We'll go to members of the council first off. How nice it is to hear something about that is inclusive rather than potentially threatening of people's ability to connect with council and each other. And I thank you for that. Members of the council, any comments or questions? I'll go to Mr. Brown then for the moment.
Thank you, Lee. It's just to say, as Kev has already said, this is a piece, the two strategies came together for very important purposes. It's about the investment that we've got in our digital infrastructure, but Kev's second presentation that we've just had is really important for us because it's about facilitating our customers accessing those services and making sure that we leave nobody behind. One of our major commitments on the CAP programme was to leave none of our customers behind, and to not stop any access channel, to make sure that those people who don't have access to digital facilities, don't have up-to-date mobile phones, but want to access us through any channel, can do so. But those who perhaps want to transition to dealing with it in a digital way, we can also facilitate that and make sure that they can access those services to serve themselves if they want. So I think this is really important, a really important strategy for us, because it links in with our ambitions to turn ourselves into a digital council and make sure that we offer a consistent service to all our customers wherever they are on their digital journey, or if they don't decide to embark on any digital journey at all.
Right, thank you. Good. Right, I've got Mr. Bamsey as well. Wants to have a word.
Thank you, Leader. I'm just going to say that this is extremely positive. It links very closely to economic development strategy, which is also on the agenda. It links very closely to recovery. So it's very, very positive, and Kevin is working closely on recovery. But that digital poverty piece of work that's being done is so important. But this is excellent because these are vital components to moving forward post-COVID and out of it. So really, really important, and generally really important for our economic future.
Thank you, thank you. Councillor Keane then.
Yes, thank you. The document that we've got here, the strategy, I really would like to congratulate Lance and all the colleagues, because this is an excellent document. It's well set out. The question is there a separate budget for this? Because in part of it, the digital literacy skills and accessibility, there would be room here for many of the voluntary groups in the community who get together to actually assist those who are scared rigid of all this digital stuff. I'm thinking it's not just the older people either, although like myself, probably the culprits. But we would certainly try to encourage the voluntary sector to push this forward so that even more people have access. The document itself is so good. I wonder, is this going to be circulated to libraries and the leaders and the administrators in our community hubs as a reference document?
Mr. Chorley?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, discussions have already underway with Citizens Advice and the Department of Work and Pensions, so there will undoubtedly be an element of voluntary support there as well. It's important that as part of the ongoing work, the initial work for this digital inclusion strategy, is that we map out what services are currently out there and who is providing what, and look to get these people on board with us to deliver on the strategy. So like I say, that isn't just about Citizens Advice, that isn't just about Department of Work and Pensions, that could be village agents, it could be local community groups, it could be libraries, and to identify key areas within the district that we need to be delivering as well. In terms of funding and additional monies, I believe that there are bids being written at this moment in time to help support the digital inclusion work that we want to deliver on. So yes, that will inevitably involve some form of funding need. Yes, as regards to making the strategy public, it is going to be available on our website, I believe. So it will be ready available for people to view, as are a lot of our strategy documents. So it will be in the public domain. Is my thought? Yes.
Thank you.
And directly at the moment, there's no financial implications from this report or this strategy, but there may well be in the future as it's developed. Yeah.
Yes, and in particular, monies for commissioning a report around data, and we've been in early discussions with a company called Mosaic, who do a lot of work with Experian Credit Reference Agency about data collection and mapping the district digitally.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Slocum.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Kevin. I think the one thing that this your strategy has brought out is the fact that how much you care, how much that you care about people who are not included, wish not to be included. I've got some people near me who go to the bank every week and get their £500 cash out, won't even do banking. The fact that you're able to, the fact that you want to be able to facilitate, the fact that you want to be able to help people to gain better knowledge, I think will be a tremendous benefit, really, really good benefit. I mean, I've got some now that frightened to go to the car parks because I speak to a gentleman who doesn't even have a bank card and he's not elderly. You know, we're always going to have those elements of people who are just not into technology. But the fact is that you're making this all inclusive, the fact that we're trying, but the fact is that we're recognizing that there will always be that section of people who don't want to be digital. So I congratulate you for this and the team. Very well done indeed. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Brown, did you want to come in, or your hands up?
Oh, sorry, Leader, I meant to put it down.
Thank you. Councillor Duddridge.
Sorry, forgot that. I mean, yeah, just to thank everybody for their kind comment. I mean, it's a great report that Kevin has produced there. Pick up on something Councillor Keane said. When circumstances permit, Raymond to move out into our communities, maybe do some workshops, basic digital skills. And hopefully that won't only help people with digital issues, but we can pick up other issues in communities as we move around. Doug said, you know, it ties into economic development. We can hopefully pick up different things, housing or whatever, as we actually get talking to people. And hopefully it'll be able to be a boon to the whole council rather than just the digital side of things.
Thank you. Councillor Slocum.
I beg your pardon, Leader. I forgot to put my hand down. I apologise.
All right. Mr. Milton. Jerry.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to say that I've, obviously this digital inclusion, as Bob said, underpins everything we do really in this transformation program. It is absolutely critical to us. And when we talk about digital inclusion, we're talking about internal as well, with staff and members, as well as externally with our customers. So it's very broad, and part of our strategy is to include as many people as possible in delivering as well. So as Kevin alluded to there, I've been meeting with CAB and DWP, and more recently Somerset West and Taunton, to come up with a proposal for additional funding to deliver to our customers throughout Sedgemoor and Somerset West. So that's quite an exciting prospect, really, that we can get together with all the different agencies to deliver this. But I have to emphasize, you don't do this overnight. This is a long strategy, really, over the next 5 years. But we are moving, we are starting to do things. We're working with staff already, and we intend to get stuck into this. And I, you know, as everyone said, I think the strategy is a good starting point, and Kevin and his team are making a good start. So.
Good, thank you. Right, if there are no further comments or debate, are you happy that I put the strategy recommendation before you, which is publish and implement? Councillor Slocum?
Yes, so moved, Leader.
Thank you. In that case, I'll go to the vote. I certainly support the recommendation. Councillor Slocum?
I certainly support the recommendation. I've heard and seen the whole debate. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Caswell?
Seen the whole debate, listened to the whole debate, and I think it's excellent, so I fully support.
Thank you. Councillor Duddridge?
Yeah, very happy to bring the report forward and very happy to support fully.
Thank you. Councillor Gilling?
Unmute.
Yeah, I think the problem is there's a delay in clicking the button and the actual microphone going. So we'll go to Councillor Healy.
Yes, thanks, you, Leader. Yes, seen and heard the debate and fully support the motion. Sorry.
Thank you. Councillor Keane.
Thank you. I've seen and heard the full debate and I support the recommendation.
Right. Thank you. And going back to Councillor Gilling. I take that as yeah. Well, no, we can hear you now, actually, Councillor.
Can you?
Gilling, so
Oh, sorry
good.
about that.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you very much. In that case, then, Steve.
Unanimous, Leader.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and well done, Kevin. That was it's a great piece of work. Looking forward to seeing it implemented.
Thank you.
Right. Without further ado, I'm going to hand over the chairmanship to Councillor Slocum while I step out a moment, just to be told what I'm supposed to be doing by a government minister, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you very much, Councillor Slocum.
Thank you, Leader. Good luck. Okay, we now go back to members' agenda item 8, which is the information strategy report. I hand over to Councillor Duddridge.
I think Craig's with us now because I did my very short
That's why
intro.
that's why I've done it. That's why I've done
Right,
it.
yeah.
So do you want me to go straight to Craig? Is that right?
Please, yeah, if you could.
Sorry, Councillor Duddridge. Mr. Wilkins, Mr. Craig Wilkins, and Mr. Milton, could you put your hand down, please? Thank you. Super. Lovely.
And you.
Okay. Well, good morning, Deputy Leader, remaining executive members and SLT members. I'm here to introduce the IS strategy for the next 5 years. I won't go through the 33-page thesis, but we've got a nice summary that just gives you a high-level indication of the core topic areas. So, Steve, can you present Appendix 1 for me, please, on screen, just to make it easier? Page 2, if you can, please. That's right. So basically, the vision covers the next 5 years. Obviously, IT's changes dramatically, and it has this year, obviously, with a lot of virtual tools that are available. And obviously, you're using one of the key tools that we migrated to from Skype for Business to Teams. It will keep changing. Technology is just going to jump potentially every 2 years. So we've tried to set out, at least in detail, in the next 3 years with some sort of topical areas in sort of years 4 to 5. But we've done our best to collate where we think the market's going in terms of the private sector and public sector to highlight the key areas that we need to invest in. And I'll go through that. So our priorities obviously mixed in with the, excuse me, the staff survey. We can identify digital skills, and I will say I think the executive have done really well with Microsoft Teams and getting up to speed with sort of virtual meetings, as most of the staff have as well within our organisation. And we've tried to focus around the corporate priorities, our core values, and specifically our digital principles that we're basing our delivery model upon. So within the IS strategy, there are sort of 5 key strategic priorities. One is very much around increasing online service, and that's linked into our customer access program and increasing the mobility of our workforce. Obviously, we've invested heavily in the past around mobile devices, so laptops, etc., and we've increased the amount of transaction capability on our website over the last 12 months, and that's seen quite a big uplift. And you'll see from government, especially with the COVID payment of £500, which you may have heard about this morning and in the press, they're very much driven around digital capabilities to deliver that functionality, which obviously we'll support and move forward with. But that's not forgetting the community at large that may not have some of this technology, which we're trying to support. One of the bigger growth areas over the last 12 months, or probably the last 2 years, has been unified communication, and that's the type of tool that you're using now at this moment in time in Microsoft Teams. And the majority of local government are using Microsoft Teams at the moment. You may see alternative solutions such as Zoom and Google Meet. Our strategy is to stick with Teams. We're not going to say you can't use Zoom or Google Meet, but our corporate strategy is to use Microsoft Teams because that ties in with all our infrastructure and our licensing capability. There's going to be a big boom in terms of how we collaborate and moving forward with some of the sort of unitary discussions, a lot of sharing and collaboration that's going across organisations, and the tools that we'll be put into place. We already have, and we're trying to focus on that at the moment. Increased data transparency to the general public is another key strategic priority. The organisation, in terms of information systems in the business, have done a lot of work trying to present our data that we hold on our citizens. So majority of people are interested in planning, business rates at the moment, which is topical, and investment, so that you can see a lot of information on our website from our core systems. A lot of that information is real time, and unlike a lot of organisations which tend to be 24 hours out of date, we're very keen to try to make it real and immediate and accessible to our customers and our staff internally. There were big strategic priorities around supporting partnership working, and we've done quite a lot of work over the last couple of years. So we host the Somerset Builder Control Partnership and deliver all their IT infrastructure needs and services, and that's to continue. We've recently supported Mendip District Council in running their payroll locally and making sure that that operates effectively. And I guess the last strategic priority is increasing our commercial focus. And one of the big drivers of our customer access programme and our history as an organisation in developing our own software and making sure our enterprise products work as well as we can in an agile and adaptable way. We're now refocused on building our new business rate system, council tax and housing benefit system. So there's a lot of opportunity, let's say, to make sure that we've got efficient and effective systems that also run probably cheaper than the private sector market at the moment, and we've evidenced that in the past, so I'm not seeing that change. Obviously, we've got a lot of in-house systems that I touched upon then, and we're going to continue with that. Our strategy with customer access program is trying to reduce a lot of our complexity of our systems that we exist from all our supplier based, and we've done some work around that, but that will increase over the next 3 years to 5 years, so that's in there. One of the big areas, I guess, that we're all environmentally aware of is reducing our carbon footprint. As an organisation, we've done a lot of work in the past by making sure we buy the latest technology around monitors, laptops, which are efficient. Obviously, with a lot of people working from home now, our carbon footprint is going to reduce significantly. Any waste that we produce from replacing equipment goes to our WE contractor, and it doesn't go to landfill, so all that side of thing is working really well. In addition, our carbon footprint's reducing as we move to more cloud-based services, and we've been using cloud services for the last 5 years in certain areas, and that's going to increase. Our infrastructure, that's quite modern at the moment. Probably is about 3 years old in our last upgrades that we've done across the organisation. I see a big shift in the way that will probably work over the next 3 years, so we've put in some investment within the plan to see what we can do with that to try to increase better connectivity to our residents and our employees, importantly. And we continue to support employees as we change the way we do work. Microsoft Teams is being rolled out to all our staff members. I would say that's challenging, especially as people working remotely. The usual model of training people in classroom style based scenarios is changing, and hopefully we can support that moving forward even more. Obviously, there's some of you're on Office 365 as well. To me, that's just a natural migration from the existing Office products, but there's a lot more functionality and rich functionality that's coming to support improved collaboration, and you'll start to see that once we've moved everyone over to Microsoft Teams and everyone onto Office 365. Obviously, there are a lot of new and future business needs, so I'm seeing a lot of work coming from central government around COVID. Interestingly, we've just got our data on COVID statistics from central government, where that was going to the Somerset County originally. That's now come to local authority, so we need to set up systems and process to support that, but that's in hand. So that's just one typical example. And moving back round to the sort of final area I'd like to touch on is cybersecurity. Significant, there's been a lot of significant progress. You've seen in the last year a few local authorities that have been hacked. I think Redcar and Clevedon was the last big authority, and when they got hacked, their systems were down. Majority of their systems were down for at least 2 weeks. So we continue to invest in our sort of perimeter defences and our internal defences, and so far they seem to be working. Obviously, it's going to be a challenge moving forward because cyber attacks vary day by day, year by year, and it's just making sure that we keep up with the technology around that. So that's a high level summary. In terms of investment, which we think we need, we've identified around £500,000 over 5 years. So on average, it's about 100,000 a year. That's been identified. Obviously, it's not been approved, but we will look to, for you to support that if you can, to make sure that we can keep moving forward with the technology needs of the business. And that's it, high level in summary. So I'm happy to take any questions and go from there.
Thank you very much, Craig. That's very, very good presentation. If we could just, thank you very much. Before I go to, I'm going to try to get this in order, but I'd just like to say before we go any further that obviously I think we have to give a tremendous amount of thanks and appreciation to yourself and your team for how you have your patience and understanding and you know, looking after us all. And some of us have got very poor broadband, some of us have got better, that doesn't help you. And I think that's a key point that people do forget. But I think especially to Steve Taylor as well, who has been tremendous in democratic services, absolutely amazing link there. But I would like to really personally thank all your team because, you know, you have in these difficult situations, you have done a tremendous job. So that needs to be said. And could I also say that I think the extra the £500,000 that you're talking about over 5 years, I think it's absolutely essential that we keep up with all the IT, the up-to-date equipment that you need. You cannot be stopped by moving forward, you know, by finances. It's proved beyond any doubt at all. We have to have excellent IT to be able to do a good council work. So thank you very much. So could I ask any members of the council, please, if they have any questions for Craig? Excuse me. No members of the council? Okay. Mr. Milton, just before that, I just want to say Councillor Keane has been coming in and out. Bless her, she's had a little bit of trouble. She's got a little bit of broadband problem today, not our IT. So, but thank you, Janet, for trying very hard. Mr. Milton, please.
Yes, I just wanted to support Craig and his team, and also what you've just been saying, really, Councillor Slocum, about the, you know, we shouldn't underestimate the challenges being faced by Craig and his team over the last few months, on top of delivering business as usual and looking forward as well. And the amount of work they've gone through as a team has been immense. And I know there's been difficulties for everybody, members and staff alike. But I think that the challenges facing that team have been immense, really. And while all that's going on, they've been doing work on collaboration with our partners as well, keeping that going, developing software, as Craig says, and we're building new systems. You know, our some of our in our core business, like business rates and going forward council tax and benefits. These are not simple bits of work. They're quite detailed projects, and it's a credit to the team, you know, and the diversity within the IT team. We see the guys that are supporting us in our day-to-day work, but there's a heck of a lot going on in the background with some with our developers, for example. And Craig, on top of that, is also bringing forward apprentices and new members of staff and building them into the team. So we've got a legacy. So I just wanted to emphasize all the background work that goes into delivering an IT service in an organization like ours is quite considerable. And the fact everybody's moved out of the offices to a home environment, which is all different for everybody, I think is, you know, it just highlights really the effort that they've put in. So, and I think the report's excellent as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Milton. If I could, sorry, we keep forgetting to put our hands down, but if you don't mind doing that for me, that would be great. Now I'd like to go to Councillor Duddridge, please.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Slocum. No, just add, at the risk of Craig getting too big-headed, add my thanks to the things that have gone before. And as Jerry said, you know, we just see what happens when your laptop plays up or whatever. The stuff that goes on behind the scenes, you know, with the CAP program and the outside work they're doing is amazing. So yeah, just to thank them, you know, once again from all of us. I mean, it's a full-time job keeping me on the straight and narrow, let alone sorting everything else out. So they do a cracking job.
I have to say that is extremely that the last sentence you gave there is amazing. I think you're absolutely right, Craig. You've done a great job dealing with Lance, and he's now an IT. He's now an IT specialist. Absolutely, guru now in every shape in the word, and that is, and you've really worked tremendously hard. Do I
Right,
have
that's
any
enough.
other?
That's enough, Dave.
Do any other councillors wish to say anything? Any other members of the executive? Okay. Right. You see the recommendation before you to recommend the draft IS strategy for the period to be approved. Would you like to move the recommendation, Councillor Dudderidge?
I certainly would. Yeah, I'm very happy to move the recommendation.
And I'm very happy to second if that's okay with everyone. Okay, I need to go around the room now just to make sure that you've all seen and heard. So I will go to Councillor Dudderidge first.
Yeah, seen and heard the whole discussion and very happy to move this report, approval of this.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Healy.
Yes, thank you for that. You took me by surprise there. I've jumped the queue. Yes, clearly heard and seen and very much in favour of this. Really good work. So yeah, I recommend it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gilling, could you unmute? Unmute, Councillor Gilling. No, unmute, Councillor Gilling. Thank you. No, unmute. No. Right, speak now. No.
She's talking to you, Janet.
No.
Right, Councillor Gilling, could you just press the unmute? Press on. Now speak.
Right, can you hear me now?
Andrew's been having problems as
Absolutely.
well.
Thank you.
Yes, I've heard and spoken to heard the entire debate, and I'm perfectly happy to support it.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor Caswell.
Oh, crikey. Yes, I heard the whole debate, and I'm happy to support the recommendation made by Councillor Dudderidge.
Okay. As poor Councillor Janet Keane has not heard the whole debate, I will not be able to take your vote, Councillor Keane. Councillor.
That's understood.
But thank you for keep persisting and trying. So we're all in. I think Steve. I think we agree we're all in favour.
As long as you are a deputy leader, that's clearly
Certainly
carried.
me. Absolutely. And once again, I'd just like to thank Craig. Please extend our appreciation to the whole team for the really good work, and please keep it up, because now we're nearly all there, 365 and Teams, and the only way up is only one way up, and that is up. Okay, so thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we now, members, we're now going to the we're now moving to the item 7. Could I just check that Stuart Hewlett is here, please?
I am, Councillor Slocum.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Okay, so this is now the economic strategy refresh. This is my portfolio, so I'm just going to give a small précis into it before I hand over to Mr. Hewlett. As you know, Sedgemoor District Council's economic development strategy has been refreshed with the help of the consultants of Arup. It's set an ambitious and sympathetic framework for growth over the next 30 years. It has been planned to adopt the strategy in spring 2020, but obviously the global crisis caused us and the pandemic led to the postponement. While this disrupts into the council's long-term intentions, the delay has allowed us to integrate managed economic recovery from recession and response to change into our wider aspirations. Overarching themes of the document are clear and inclusive growth, natural capital and digital skills, firm foundations on with which the district and its business can flourish. Digital skills and infrastructure are vital components of growth as more people work from home now, increasing numbers of businesses trade online. So this is so important. Now more than ever, we must ensure we have the tools to support them. Climate change, prevention, preservation of our natural capital are the hearts of our plans. We need to protect and enhance our coastlines, our rural communities to ensure our residents and visitors can enjoy them for many years to come. We need to rethink how we deliver our growth and honour our pledge to carbon neutral by 2050. The clear priorities and bold action plan included in our strategy will allow us to achieve these goals. The document, together with a wider suite of local and regional recovery plans, will foster economic recovery, expansion in Sedgemoor, ensuring our economy is strong and resilient for the benefit of our businesses and communities. As we know, we are moving into a new changes from the government but this economic strategy will actually shape our ambition for any new authority. So it's vitally important that we actually take our strong economic values moving forward so that we can lead the way. So with that, I now hand you over to Mr. Stuart Hewlett. Thank you, Stuart. Who's going to give us a small, just a very small presentation.
Hopefully a brief presentation. Steve, I think you were going to share your screen if that's okay. Unfortunately, I have some slight IT issues, so I'm going to come off the video as well, just so that I don't cut out halfway through, if that's okay. You should be seeing the first slide. So purpose, as Councillor Slocum has set out, is to present the Council's Economic Development Strategy refresh to the Executive and hopefully getting approval to advance through the full Council. Having an up-to-date economic development strategy is clearly central to the Council's pro-growth and ambitious pro-business approach that we have. It is an ambitious vision for economic development, and it does take into account some of those key challenges that we face in terms of climate change and the ability to adapt our economy towards clean growth and knowledge. The knowledge economy is going to be absolutely central to where we take it forward. It's going to be a critical document about selling Sedgemoor, selling the place Sedgemoor to investors, but also shaping our own strategies. And previous versions have already shaped the local plan to ensure that we put the right conditions in place, the right infrastructure in place, so we can achieve sustainable economic growth. And Councillor Slocum's touched upon it, in terms of the ongoing context of COVID-19 and of course local government reorganisation, actually having a clear strategy on economic development is probably even more vital at the moment. One, to support the recovery process, which will need to be economically led without doubt, and also to support any new authority in developing a wider strategy to ensure the place objectives of Sedgemoor remain and our ability to influence remains consistent. And that's what we've been doing over many years now, is influencing government policy and economic development to secure some really large scale inward investment. And that's where we would hope any new authority would still wish to take us. In terms of the Stronger Somerset bid, there's a lot of synergy between ourselves and Somerset West and Taunton, and one of the very strong elements of the business case is the links between the functional economic market area and of course the influence of the M5 corridors. So there's already a lot of synergies there. So whilst we perhaps didn't envisage the context of COVID and local government reform when we started the refresh, as I say, it probably is even more essential that we get the economic development strategy adopted and out there so that it can begin to influence properly within that context. So given that, I'll just cover a couple of slides. So if I can have the next slide, please, Steve, which just gives an overview. So Sedgemoor produced the original master plan in 2009. The intention was to create an economic route map for the district to provide the input into those important policy documents, both our internal framework, but also higher tier policies and plans as well. And the master plan at that time set out a series of actions around the themes of leadership, place and people and business. And we've retained those themes as I come on to talk about within the refresh. In 2015, we produced an updated economic development strategy, again, keeping the same themes and recognising the importance of Sedgemoor's town centres, and also considered the individual employment sectors. In this version, we don't talk about individual economic sectors. We see it more collaborative in terms of looking across the district as a whole and trying to deliver real change in terms of some of those ambitions in terms of clean growth and the knowledge economy. This latest refresh was, as Councillor Slocum has already said, was commissioned by Arup beginning last year. And the point of the refresh was to update, given the context of significant change that had occurred both in terms of national and regional priorities, and the publication of the UK industrial strategy and the links to clean growth have emerged from that. So a central purpose has been to steer Sedgemoor's ambition towards that higher value and knowledge economy, particularly basing it on clean and inclusive growth. And by securing clean and inclusive growth, then you're able to secure raising incomes as well as dealing with that climate change issue. Next slide, please, Steve. So as I said, the vision and themes are retained for the previous version. So the retained vision is to be a great place to do business, live and work, fully utilising its position in the centre of the southwest to ensure a prosperous and sustainable economy for all, building upon a local culture of enterprise and innovation. And in Sedgemoor, enterprise and innovation is a central part of our economy and how that drives productivity. The 4 themes are retained also from 2015. So the first one is leadership. And we've got a proven track record of attracting large-scale inward investment and collaboration with the private sector. And that really does raise us above a number of other authorities and does really secure our pro-growth and pro-business approach. And that is well recognised in the private sector as well. In terms of people, people clearly are at the centre of economic development. They provide the workforce and they also determine the amount of productivity that an economy will produce. So ensuring that we've got a prosperous workforce with the ability to access opportunities in terms of learning and skills is really essential to inclusive growth. And by inclusive growth, it means that where we secure economic growth, everyone benefits from that growth. In terms of businesses as a theme, clearly again, strong and resilient businesses will be central to a strong local economy. And we need to ensure that we can attract the right businesses to take us into some of the transformational areas that we wish to go, but also support the existing businesses to grow and adapt. And that's equally as important and will help us maintain resilience in the economy, as well as I say, transforming towards higher value, higher jobs, higher paid jobs. In terms of place, we have many attractive places to live, and ensuring that we maintain that and have the right infrastructure to support a productive and active workforce, again, is a key theme. And how the economic development strategy influences other plans, such as I said, the local plan and other higher tier strategies will be absolutely essential in securing investment into our towns and villages, particularly on the infrastructure front, where we need strategic infrastructure and local infrastructure. Next slide, please, Steve. So that was what was retained from the previous version. The aspirations that are shown on the screen, there's 15 of them, I think, in total. These are new, they're ambitious aspirations and would help shape from the themes into the priorities, into the work plans of the economic development team. So they're very important aspirations organised around those themes. So under leadership, we have obviously providing that vision and governance to ensure the priorities are recognised with government. So that's the influence that I was talking about, but also ensuring that we're a pioneer of clean growth. And we have several opportunities to be that pioneer from our learning from Hinkley Point C and the significant works that have gone on in terms of legacy and skills and training, but also with the future opportunity of Gravity as well on our doorstep as well, looking to be an innovative smart campus to deliver clean growth objectives. Under the people themes, we've got aspirations about access to skills, absolutely vital part of making sure people can realise opportunities, and digital skills will become more and more important and have probably become more accelerated through the COVID context as well. We want to make sure that anyone who wants to work with Sedgemoor, wants to work in Sedgemoor, is can find a quality job, a training or placement, and are able to progress their career. And again, links to the bottom point as well on the slide is the ability to retain our young people rather than the brain drain out of the district is going to be a vital part of that. So ensuring that we have the right jobs here for them so they can benefit from their training is going to be absolutely vital. And equality and some of the key work that the under construction service does over at the hub about equality, the need to reduce gender pay gap, ensuring there's fair access to opportunity for training and skills is going to be a vital part of where we want to go to. Next slide, please, Steve. Under the business theme, we clearly want to support small businesses and we want to encourage startups and also encourage the self-employed to be competitive and innovative. The district is made up from a significant number of small businesses, and it is vital that for the success of the economy as a whole that they're resilient and can adapt and change. We want to sustain competitive business to improve productivity clearly and to help with innovation in both the existing businesses, but also encourage some of the new sectors to help diversify the economy as well. And by diversifying the economy to increase job opportunities in other areas, clearly increases the economic resilience of the economy as a whole. And actually the COVID example has shown that because we've got quite a diverse economy, we haven't had the economic shocks that other areas have had where they have been more focused on one particular industry or one particular business type model. So although we've had our shocks, they haven't been as significant as perhaps they have been in other areas. So that does demonstrate that we have quite a resilient economy. And clearly, with the climate change agenda, we need to be able to support businesses to adapt to reduce green gas emissions. It's going to be a very important part of training and learning, and the ability to adapt to some of those objectives that will come forward. Will be mandated, I'm sure, that will come forward in terms of energy efficiency, etc. So it's really important that we can help businesses turn that corner for them. In terms of place, we want to support the Council's ambition to become carbon neutral by 2030. So again, through the delivery of economic development and development as a whole, we need to make sure that we're delivering on our climate change objectives. We need to sustain appropriate employment land availability. So we need available land, and we need to provide the right infrastructure, as I say, in terms of place, to make sure that we can secure the right type of inward investment. And Sedgemoor, very strong part of the economy is tourism, and we need to be able to make sure that we can protect that, and again make Sedgemoor an attractive place for visitors and residents. And we want to raise the pride for working in Sedgemoor and the opportunities to work here and invest here, as well as doing business. And place marketing, we've just started place marketing, and it's a really important part of promoting Sedgemoor as a place, and again building on that pro-business, pro-growth agenda that we've already set ourselves. And the last point is clearly to deliver the Bridgewater vision. The economic development strategy links to that 50-year vision for Bridgewater, and will help deliver real change and transformation to the town. Next slide, please, Steve. So alongside the aspirations, we've got 4 new overarching priorities. I'll touch on a little bit in terms of clean and inclusive growth, digital transformation, knowledge economy and skills, and natural capital and climate change. And in many ways, they feel even more relevant now with COVID and climate change, and the need for recovery actually than perhaps when we started the refresh process. In terms of clean and inclusive growth, this directly links with the government's industrial strategy and the climate change ambitions, as well as recognising the importance of our natural environment, which is a key asset for us. And as I said before, the ability to learn from Hinkley Point C and its legacy, as well as the future opportunities at Gravity, will be absolutely essential in driving our clean growth priorities forward. Digital transformation is a key priority. We've already heard about the digital strategy. It's a key priority for everyone in ensuring people and businesses can adapt to what is becoming, as I say, an accelerated experience through COVID. Ensuring we've got the right infrastructure and skills in place to take forward those opportunities, again, are going to be absolutely vital. Next slide, please, Steve. So knowledge economy and skills linked to the digital transformation clearly, but the ability to secure knowledge sector businesses, which perhaps we wouldn't be able to without the world becoming a bit smaller through digital transformation, as well as supporting existing businesses to adapt to that challenge, will be essential again in ensuring that we've got higher value jobs available for our local people, and again creating that greater resilience in the economy. And then natural capital and climate change. We have to accept, well, don't have to accept, we should accept and celebrate that, in fact, that the natural environment is one of our main assets, and we do need to look at the opportunities through economic development to protect and consider the economic value of the environment. But we also, in developing the economy towards clean growth, we need to make sure that we are playing our part in terms of climate change objectives. And sometimes development and economic development is seen as being the antithesis of climate change. In fact, what we would be saying through our economic development strategy is that through the delivery of the right type of development, you're going to realise your climate change objectives. Actually doing nothing and not delivering development will not change and will not help meet the climate change objectives. So it's a very important part of the strategy that runs throughout it in terms of the ability to change and transform the economy to meet the climate change challenge. Next slide, please, Steve. And clearly, we've got a number of assets that we need to celebrate, and the strategy does that. I've already talked about the need for appropriate employment land and the ability to attract businesses. We need land. We also need to understand that we have a significant advantage in terms of our connectivity and also our low land costs. So it does provide quite an advantage to us in terms of economic development and attracting inward investment. Water is also another important asset for Sedgemoor. It's a challenge as well, and ensuring we secure the long-term flood protection of our towns, with particularly in Bridgewater, and the delivery of the barrier is going to be really essential in maintaining investor confidence so that they can come and invest in our district without the fear of flood risk. But the waterways are important in a variety of different ways in terms of leisure, tourism, but also potentially through the transportation of goods through the Port of Bridgewater. So another key asset that's identified in the strategy. We benefit from significant energy infrastructure, so Hinkley Point C, National Grid investment. It all provides unique opportunities for us to develop that and become a test bed for new technology to support clean growth, and clean growth, as you're probably anticipating, is a central theme throughout the strategy. And building on that, we've got Gravity, which is the picture in the bottom right-hand quadrant. It's our next big project, our next major project. It's already a flagship for innovation, clean growth, digital transformation, and hopefully will provide a leading edge response to that climate action as well. High value jobs in areas like artificial intelligence, robotics, electric, autonomous vehicles, and also supporting maybe some of the decarbonisation of the economy as well. Different ways of looking at mobility, smart mobility, etc. So a really massive asset and opportunity that the economic development strategy recognises in terms of the ability to drive forward. Another asset is our natural environment, and I've already talked about that. It's really important that we do recognise the economic value of our environment on our projects and seek to protect it by investing and supporting in those clean growth measures and supporting businesses in their ability to adapt. Next slide, please, Steve. So this is the action plan. The strategy concludes with an action plan. Members would have seen it in the documents that were circulated. They're split into short, medium, and longer term time spans, and they provide the basis for annual monitoring and review of progress. I haven't put all the actions on the slide. There's over 100 of them, but they will clearly link to the individual work plans. I won't go through them in detail. All I would say is in terms of the short-term ones, they are ones that we were working on and delivering already. So we've got some of the under construction type activity in terms of dealing with equality and diversity and trying to give people a fair opportunity to access jobs through training, etc. We've got procurement opportunities that we're pursuing, local labour agreements, etc., that we are securing to make sure the local area benefit from economic growth. And we're providing one-stop training and skills opportunities to help increase and improve the opportunity to secure higher value jobs. And active travel modes, very, very relevant through COVID as well. Trying to link new developments with active travel modes is going to be a central part of how we move forward, not only in terms of economic resilience, but also in terms of climate change as well. The medium and longer term ones build on some of those short-term actions and take us into the future, but I won't run through them all. Clearly, the work plans will flow from them. Next slide, last slide, please, Steve. Thank you. And it's probably just worth touching upon it, and I've touched upon it a little bit as I've been going through the slides, but the influence of COVID-19, it's absolutely essential that the economic development strategy helps us respond and helps us form the need to recover from COVID-19. It's had a catastrophic impact on the business community and the economy. As I say, the impact's not as badly felt here as other areas, but we still need to build and recover from the position that we're left with, and setting out a refreshed economic development strategy to support us through that recovery and renewal stage is absolutely essential and has some direct relevance in terms of securing clean and inclusive growth, dealing with climate change emergency, a focus on digital skills and digital infrastructure, which, as I say, is even more central now. We all know we're all working differently now, and we need to help other people and businesses adapt to that. It's going to be really important that we're closely aligned with those regional and national strategies, because that way we can influence and secure funding and grants and support for our local economy and businesses. And finally, town centres. Well, town centres were changing anyway before COVID. They're going to change even more now. It's really important that the economic development strategy recognises the need to secure some vibrancy and resilience of our main retail centres on the basis that it's probably not driven by retail as much as it would have been previously. So that's just a brief overview of the document. I think the key message that I want to get out there is that we remain committed to driving forward and being ambitious in terms of delivering a modern transformational economic strategy driving forward those clean and inclusive growth principles is going to be absolutely essential. And it does really set our course in terms of recovery and climate change response as well. Both of which, as I say, will need to be economically driven. I think it's a really important message that climate change and recovery have to be economically driven. And to do that, to have any real influence and to make a difference, that has to be the case. So on that basis, the report is recommended to the executive to seek approval to, for its adoption, and that would need to go to full council. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hewlett. That was an excellent presentation, and one of the most important strategies in our council to drive us forward, along with our IT strategies. So I think we all recognise that. When this goes to the full council, hopefully it will be endorsed today, and it will have the endorsement of myself and the leader. You will have the full, a repeat, but you will have the full endorsement written in to the strategy. Members of the council, do I have any questions, please? Anybody? No. Councillor Keane.
Thank you. The entire report and the attachments, they are very, very thought-provoking. But wearing my climate change hat, could I ask you to think back to the reference to water? There are bodies with whom we work very closely, such as the Somerset Wildlife Trust and the Local Nature Partnership, and they in turn work closely with the drainage boards. It has been recognised that water, we've got a lot of it in Sedgemoor. However, it is possible, and the work is going on of how we can adapt to the water and the possible increases in the amount of water and management of it. And it is also now a matter of record by the various specialist bodies that water, if it is managed properly, is an asset, probably more so than a cause for concern. And if we keep that to the very front of our minds when we are talking with I'm not sure if they're partners, but people with whom we are very closely aligned, I think that is another aspect to the whole concept of this report and our overall philosophy and how we bring it forward. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Mr. Hewlett, did you want to respond to that at all in any way, or?
Well, just to say, obviously, the water is a key asset. It's intrinsically linked to our natural environment. The economic development strategy actually, as a case study, includes Steert Marshes, which is a great example of something that has been done in terms of working with partnerships to deliver something that's has a long legacy. So, absolutely agree with everything Councillor Keane says. Water is a very important asset for us.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to go back to Councillor Smedley, because he was trying to get to me, but he couldn't. So, Councillor Smedley.
Well, I just wanted to say that the report had gone to the Corporate Scrutiny Committee, which we obviously heard and we discussed and supported. And Stuart Howlett's presentation, of course, is excellent. Although any 30-year plan which suggests that Sedgemoor might last longer than the planet itself is clearly optimistic. But we know that we're living in unprecedented times at the moment. Anybody trying to do an economic strategy based on COVID, climate change, Brexit, and now the totally unnecessary local government reorganisations has to be quite an ambitious strategy. But of course, we support the traditional pro-growth, pro-business strategy, developed now into a clean and inclusive growth strategy. Who wouldn't support new jobs, housing, raising skill levels, the digital aspect that Councillor Dudley just talked about earlier, very important. But the fact that Mr. Howlett managed to mention climate change no less than 13 times in his report, I think is something that Sedgemoor officers should be aiming to do in every report they do, because clearly climate change is massively important at the moment. And fitting Sedgemoor onto the regional economic picture, no matter what happens to Sedgemoor as a district over the next few years, is important as well. So we would as a committee urge you to support this and move it on to full council. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smedley. Councillor Smedley. Sorry, thank you very much for that. Mr. Bamsey.
Thank you very much, Deputy Leader. I think it was an excellent presentation, and I think what we should be very clear about the amount of work to get to this stage. We might have used Arabs, but actually this is very much our strategy, and Stuart, Kinga, Vicky, and Nathaniel did an awful lot of work to get to this stage. This is very much our strategy, and there's no doubt that having a confident, clear and ambitious strategy is really, really important as we go forward. And I think you and I, Deputy Leader, in talking to the LEP, Local Enterprise Partnership yesterday, it is clear that they very much need to hear what we believe to be priorities for this area. And I think, as Stuart said, this very, very much fits in with the agenda. We very much see the economy nationally and indeed regionally having to respond to. And of course, it won't escape members' attention that next week we have before you at Council a very, very important generation initiative for Bridgewater and Sedgemoor, which is Northgate, which very much fits into the objectives that this strategy sets out. So thank you, Deputy Leader.
Thank you very much. Thank you for those words. Yes, a tremendous amount of work has gone on, and I think Mr. Hewlett knows, and I've thanked him and the team especially. It's been a tremendous work getting together, but it does show our strength in Sedgemoor, and it shows our ambition and our initiatives where we want to go. So thank you. Councillor Healy. Sorry, I keep calling you Mr. Councillor Healy. Sorry.
No, you're welcome to call me Mr. if you like, Mrs. Slocum. It's fine. And like Councillor Keane, I'd like to put my feet firmly on the ground, if I may. Yeah, it really was a good presentation. Well done, Stuart, if I may call you by first name. A number of things come out of this, of course. Doug mentioned one about the Northgate project, which clearly I've always been in favour of, and I'm sure others have. But also the inward investment, Stuart talked about, people, pride in Bridgewater, etc. And why shouldn't you have exactly the inward investment of, we know about gravity, we know about EDF, etc. But there's always words of caution, and I'm not one to pour cold water on a nice anything, but we almost must be aware of all the good strategies we're doing. And I think Councillor Smedley mentioned it about, the COVID, the environment, etc., etc. But also, we mustn't forget there's other councils out there which are just as determined as we are to get business. So as I was listening to this really good presentation going forward, what sprang to mind was inward investment is brilliant, but also it's the outward investment we need to do with our young people, college, etc. We need to export their talents as well. Okay, clearly we'd like to keep our own, but export those talents, and also export our own professional talents from within the council itself, within Sedgemoor District Council. We have some really good officers doing good work. So I think it's a mixture of both. Yes, we want the inward investment, we want businesses coming into the town, but also we want to expand out the town to show professionally what we as a council, we as a body corporate of people can also export. So it's a two-tier affair, isn't it? Inward investment coming in. Yes, we want all the business, but also, ladies and gentlemen, to take it outwards as well. So have two bites of the cherry, if you like, through you, Deputy Leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Healy. I think the two are intrinsically linked, and I think we're going forward with this, and I hope everyone will approve. Do I have any other members members of the executive? Is there anyone else who wishes to speak, please? Okay, no, right. You see the two recommendations before you. It's to recommend to full council to agree the final adoption of the refreshed economic development strategy as part of the council's wider policy framework, to agree to delegate authority to the Assistant Director Inward Investment and Growth in consultation with the portfolio holder Inward Investment to make further technical or drafting amendments to the final draft as appropriate from executive and council before publication. I would like to move that recommendation. Do I have a seconder, please? Could somebody second the Councillor Healy?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Leader. My pleasure to second this motion. Pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm now going to go around the room just to make sure that everyone has seen and heard. Councillor Keane.
Yes, thank you. I have seen and heard all of this debate, and I agree the recommendations.
Thank you. Councillor Duddridge.
Yeah, I've seen and heard all the debate, and I'm very happy to support the recommendations.
Councillor Gilling. No. Take off your mute. Councillor Gilling, take the mute off. Good. Now speak.
Can you hear now?
Yes.
Right, I have seen and heard all of the debate and I'm more than happy to support it.
Thank you. Councillor Caswell.
Unfortunately, because of my ongoing health problems, I had to take an extended long natural break. So I did not hear all the debate, but it sounds very good to me.
Okay, we won't take your vote then. Thank you. Do we have Councillor, the leader of the council? Is he here back yet? No, we don't. Okay. Steve, I think, can you take the vote, please?
I took it, Deputy Leader, that you were in favour of it as well, as was
Oh, I
Councillor
beg
Healy.
apologise, of course.
It's clearly carried then, Deputy Leader.
Thank you very much. Because I moved the recommendation, I apologise. I'm assuming you're a mind reader. Thank you very much. Okay, now the next item is agenda item 10. I'm going to ask for a 5-minute break, a 5-minute comfort break. Is that okay with everyone? Everyone,
yes.
just okay. I think you need it. So we'll come back here at 11:50. 11:50. Thank you. Right, it's 11:50. So we're back on the. Just want to check with all executive members. Can all executive members see and hear?
Aye.
Anyone experiencing any problems?
No.
Well, Councillor Duddridge is not at his desk at the moment.
Yeah, no, unmute, Councillor Gilling. A minute. Unmute. Can't hear you. Good, thank you. Speak now. Oh, no.
Oh, forever hold your peace.
He's got trouble with his Steve, is there a problem with Councillor Gilling's here?
There were issues first of all, but I think it's. I'm not too sure what it's at the moment. It's probably has to use the on-screen mute and off rather than the.
Councillor Gilling, can you use the on-screen mute? Can you hear me? Can you? Excuse me. Yeah, use the on-screen. Don't use the adapter.
I think it is.
Adapter.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Just use the on-screen. Don't use the your headphone set. Okay, that's perfect. Stay like that. That's perfect.
No, don't use that.
No, only use the on-screen. Only the on-screen. Okay. Yeah, don't use that. Don't use that. Just
Use the mouse, you mean?
Yeah,
Indeed.
you know the on yes on the on-screen when you see mute and non-mute.
When it says mute, it's unmuted. When it says it's unmuted, it is muted.
I can see you now.
Well, we
Good.
can hear you now, Councillor Gilling.
We can hear you now, so just
you can
that's
hear me
perfect.
now.
Just stay like that, Councillor Gilling. That's perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Right then, the next item on the agenda is the update report on the executive approved capital investment from the Social Housing Fund towards the former Three Crowns Bridgewater. And I now go to Councillor Gilling, please.
Can you now hear me after that?
Perfect now.
Oh, brilliant.
That's why I
Right.
wanted to hear you. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. For those of you who are unaware of this, this was a case that was reported back in February of 2020 before lockdown. And money was granted by this committee to a developer for the Three Crowns in St Mary Street in Bridgewater. The dreaded COVID-19 has stepped in and created no end of problems for the developer. And consequently, those problems have been translated back to our own network. I'm pleased to say we have Mrs. Carter here to help talk us through the topic. So I will happily hand over to Mrs. Carter.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Gilling. Good morning, Deputy Leader, and good morning, members. As Councillor Gilling said, the decision was made by the executive on the 5th of February. What the decision said was that there was £300,000 worth of enabling grant to go towards the development of the former Three Crowns in St Mary's Street in Bridgewater. To deliver 14 units of accommodation, small 1- and 2-bed flats. And obviously with the COVID coming in after the 5th of February decision, we've had discussions with the developer because it's not just the 14 units of accommodation they're delivering. There's on the back of the scheme, there is a restaurant as well as the units as well. So it's made quite a big difference in the financial viability of the project. So rather than just stalling the project and not moving it forward, we've discussed with the developer about the scheme, and what we've come up with is some more options that we can put into the funding agreement for the £300,000. So the options are, one, to leave it as it is and provide the 14 new studio 1 and 2 bedroom units, offering them as discounted market units, so selling them at 20% discount on the open market. Option 2 will be to provide the units as sublet market affordable homes, so renting them at sub-market rent. And the third option, if that doesn't work, is to see if we could build the project out, sell them as market homes, and put in place the resale of the homes if there's any further profit with the developer, that will be agreed through ourselves and the developer, to realise that profit back through and pass it back through to the enabling grant for future use on other affordable housing projects. So really this morning is just to see whether or not the members will agree to, instead of just having the project built out as 14 discounted market units, is to provide the 3 options that will be put into the funding agreement. So it's just an update on really the February executive approval. So if I could hand back to you, Deputy Leader.
Yes, of course. Thank you. Does Mr. Harvey wish to, is he saying anything today or no? He's not here today.
No, I am here, Deputy Leader, but I'm here really just to support Councillor Gilling and Mrs. Carter with the debate. But I think Esther's kind of put the position across. So this is very much a COVID rescue project to keep this scheme on track. So that's really why it's come back before members. So I think having that flex is all the developers after, in order to commit their funds to build out that quite troublesome building, to be honest with you. So that's really where we're at with it, I think.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to first go straight to Mr. Bamsey, if I may. Mr. Bamsey.
Thank you very much, Deputy. Just to say, the Hinckley Programme Board very much supported this. It's very much about helping deliver capacity in the housing market, and as we approach a Hinckley peak workforce, which will be increased, that's really important. It also, of course, generates an outcome in a long derelict site, which is for many, many years. I certainly can't remember when it was a pub, and I think fundamentally this is a really, really positive. And I think, as Mr. Harvey and Esther have just said, this effectively is responding to changing circumstance. I think it's very, very positive. Thank you. And my apologies, I do now need to go to a different meeting, but very much support what's been proposed.
That's a shame to lose you, Mr. Bamsey, but thank you very much. Thank you. Can I say the saddest thing for me is that I can remember when it was a pub a long, long time ago, and that is a bit, but you're absolutely right. This is an absolutely been awful derelict site. So therefore, I think moving forward with this is an excellent idea. Mrs. Carter, did you wish to come back? Sorry.
I do, yes. Thanks, Deputy Leader. Just to confirm that this funding is not a Hinckley funded scheme. The funding is coming from the enabling funding through our £1 million grant that we got through from full council. So just to be clear.
Mr. Bamsey, do you wish to come back? Mr. Bamsey?
We have an element from it is Hinckley, but you're quite right, Hester. This is the proposal is for the money that the council supported. That's why it's come to you today.
Thank you. I think it just pleased both elements. I think actually. Okay, thank you for that. And thank you, Mr. Bamsey, for speaking before your next meeting. Can I ask members of the council? Do members of the council have anything they wish to comment on, please? Okay, members of the, I'm sorry, I might just give Mr. Nope, nobody from the, just want to give you time, Councillor Smedley, just in case you were trying to get in, as I cut you off the last time. No, I didn't do it this time, good. Members of the executive, do I have any members who wish to comment on this, please? Okay, nobody? All right. You see the recommendation before you, and I will read the recommendation unless Councillor Gilling wishes to add anything before I remove this. Councillor Gilling, would you like to make a comment, please?
Thank you, Deputy Leader. Can you hear me now?
We can, perfectly.
Oh, brilliant. This is technology is working at last. I have nothing further to add other than my gratitude to both Mrs. Carter and Mr. Harvey for preparing this report. I think it demonstrates our willingness to be flexible and also to provide much needed small accommodation within the town centre, and so that we can now at least satisfy some of the officers' pleas for single unit accommodation over the foreseeable future.
Thank you
It will
very much.
enhance this town centre no end, I'm sure.
Okay.
And I beg to move the recommendation.
The recommendation. The recommendation is to vary the terms of the grant resolved by the Executive on the 5th of February and approve payment of the grant to 1, implement and deliver the agreed scheme as the Executive approval of the 5th of February, support the delivery of 14 homes which would be let on a sub-market affordable rental basis, to support the delivery of 14 homes to be let on a sold at prevailing market rents or sale prices, subject to the developer entering into a binding funding agreement with the council, the terms of which to be approved by the Assistant Director, Legal and Governance and Monitoring Officer. Are you happy with that recommendation, Mrs. Carter? As is the recommendation as you see it?
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you very much, Deputy Leader.
Okay, I will second that recommendation. I now need to go around the room. So I'm approving and I'm seconding the recommendation from Councillor Gilling. So I'm just going to go as I see you. Councillor Healy, can you just tell me if you've seen and heard, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. Deputy Leader, thank you for that. Yes, I've seen and heard, and clearly I'm in support of the initiative. Thank you.
Councillor Gilling.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. Yes, having presented the report, I can do nothing else but support it.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor Caswell.
Yes, I used to frequent this place, and it's about time too, so I'm happy to support it.
Absolutely excellent, yes. Councillor Duddridge.
Yeah, I think it's a great scheme. Very happy to support it.
Thank you. Councillor Keane.
Thank you. I've seen and heard all the debate. I must admit there was a momentary flicker of broadband at the beginning of Mrs. Carter's presentation. I don't know if that would inhibit me from casting a vote. If it doesn't, then I would very much support the recommendation.
I did look at your line and I did check, and you were in. I think you were in from the beginning. So you flickered, but you were in. So just
in that case, I support.
Support. I'll just check with Melanie Wellman, our legal, if that's acceptable. Mrs. Wellman.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. Yes, as long as Councillor Keane has heard virtually all of the debate then and the presentation, that is absolutely fine.
That's super.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, Steve, can we have the vote, please?
That's unanimous, Deputy Leader.
Thank you very much, members. Thank you. And let's hope we can move forward. And thank you so much, Mrs. Carter, for coming today, and Mr. Harvey, and for the excellent work. And yes, continue in this mode. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, we now move to item 11. Item 11, which is the grant of £1,000 to the Somerset Film and Video Limited for works to complete the first floor of the engine room. And the reporting officer is obviously Liam Sweeney, and we have portfolio holders Councillor Keane and Councillor Mark Healy. So who's going to who do you want me to send this to?
May I answer that?
Yes, certainly, Councillor Keane. Then I'll go to Councillor Healy. Okay.
Thank you very much. The engine room has been a community asset now for more than a decade, and the proposal and the report that is before you is very well researched and very well written. And I would ask if Mr. Sweeney, it doesn't need any introduction. Most people have met him and benefit from his advice on previous and other subjects. So I would nothing further to add because the report itself is complete.
Thank you, Councillor Keane. I'll just go to Councillor Healy. Do you wish to add anything?
Thank you for that, Deputy Leader. Yeah, just a small smidgen if I may. You know, Councillor Keen's done a very good job there. I've spoken to the officer in question at length. I'm more than happy with this proposal. I won't preempt any outcome at all, but it certainly fits with the local assets we've got. I've looked at the long-term payback, if you want to call it that. It all appears to be, you know, a well-worthy cause. One thing I'd like to add, moving on from, you know, where we are with this, because to me, long-term, the benefits to the local community, young people, etc., which I've talked to Liam about, I feel that you know, it's a useful asset. It fits with Sedgemoor's long-term vision. I'm not going to say any more because I'd be in danger of preempting an outcome, Deputy Leader, for me, but support it, obviously.
Thank you very much, Mr. Councillor Healy. Mr. Sweeney, are you with us?
He looks like it.
No, he's having trouble with his sound, I believe. Oh, excuse me, one moment, please. I just need to welcome back the Leader of Council, Councillor Duncan McGinty. Do you wish to say something?
Just that the leader is in the building now, and I'll resume control of the meeting. Thank you very much for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Are you taking control then, Leader?
Yep, if I may.
We're just waiting for Mr. Sweeney. Sorry, thank you.
Can everyone hear me now?
Yep.
Sorry, I had to leave and rejoin in order for it to work. Deputy Chair, I just wanted to make a small correction in the introduction. You said it was for £1,000, but actually the report is £100,000.
I'm so sorry.
No, don't worry. It's marginal difference. Would you like me to talk through the report for any that haven't heard it so far?
Yes, if you wouldn't mind, just give us a brief overview. I mean, this is currently a building that the Sedgemoor District Council owns, and it's investing money into it, which will increase the value of the building, no doubt, and will also provide a suitable location for expansion of services, which we fully support. But yep, if there's anything else you wish to add, then please do so.
Yeah, thank you. So you've summarised it nicely there. It's the cost of the works is slightly more than the grant that is being requested, and the underspend of, not the underspend, sorry. So the grant's 100,000. The total cost of the works 117,000, and Somerset Film and Video Limited will be self-funding the remainder. And as you've alluded to, the works will allow them to increase their output for the work that they're currently doing. It will provide new lift and stairs, meeting and seminar spaces, disabled access toilet changing spaces, and it will also allow them to accommodate 3 new staff as a result of the funding that they've received for the Somerset Creative People and Places bid, which they are now delivering. I have here that they estimate that there will be an increase in 15% upon the first year of their visitors once the building is complete and in use, and it will also allow them to create a strong bid to other funders that they're already in communication with to allow them to fit out the second floor of the building, which would bring the engine room into full use. I've liaised with our economic development team and our skills and employability officers to look at the skills which the engine room and Somerset Film and Video Limited are able to provide as a result of the work, and made sure that they will be tying in with the work that we're already doing with under construction. And other services that we're providing to skill up the local economy. And I've highlighted in the report how the nature of COVID-19 has increased the need of us to address the skills issue, particularly in digital media. And Somerset Film and Video Limited are working already to address this. So any increase in their output will have a very strong positive impact on our local community. For those who they're targeting, such as those on the fringes of income deprivation, targeted groups such as young people who have no skills or no income and no employment, and other areas that are they're targeting is things like the digital divide. So looking to find ways to increase the digital connectivity across the whole of the region. I've collected all the comments from finance, legal, and our health and wellbeing comments as well. And I can't see any other important items to bring up except that's in the report already. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of council, any comments or questions? Brian, Councillor Smedley.
Yeah, thank you very much. You just spoke a moment ago when you weren't here, Leader, about the Three Crowns. I remember the Three Crowns as a very important rock venue in town for local bands, and Bridgewater needs places like that, and like the Engine Room, which set them apart from other places that offer something. And Sedgemoor's consistent support for the Engine Rooms over the years has been important. Particularly, you mentioned the Creative People and Places grant money that's coming into the district at the moment. So supporting things that are different, innovative, and bring people into the creative and media sort of employment field is very important. So I think it's a very welcome suggestion that you support it like this with 100,000, not 1,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Slocum.
Yes, I do apologise about that. I will go down forever saying that. As soon as I said it, I realised I do apologise. I'm really support this. I think it's this is a really great facility that is creative and practical with facilitators to meeting all the needs of so many people. Enjoy this, and I'm very, very pleased to think that Sedgemoor can help in this way. So fully support this and support the work you've done, Mr. Sweeney, on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from anyone? No? Good. Well, in that case, then the recommendation there is to recommend to council for a supplementary estimate of a grant of £100,000. And I will put that before members now.
May I move it?
And second, yep. Thank you very much. Thank you. And seconded. Thank you. Right, we'll just go round the table. I've seen and heard the debate and support the recommendation. Thank you. Councillor Slocum.
Seen and heard the debate and fully, absolutely support this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Caswell.
Listen to the whole debate and I do support.
Thank you. Councillor Duddridge.
Yeah, I've seen and heard the whole debate and I fully support it.
Thank you. Councillor Gilling.
Can you hear me now?
Correct.
I have seen and heard and listened to the entire debate and support it wholeheartedly.
Thank you. Councillor Healy.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I've fully heard and seen the debate and totally support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Keane.
I've seen and heard the whole debate and I fully support the recommendation, and I would like to record congratulations to Liam Sweeney for an excellently prepared report.
well, gold star there, Liam. Yeah, well done. Okay,
thank you.
Mr. Taylor, Steve.
Unanimous, Leader.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think that probably brings us to the end of the executive today. Just want to thank everyone for their attendance. And despite the initial IT problems, the transition over to Teams will always be a bumpy one, but I think we managed it quite well today. And thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you to officers and members for their attendance, and look forward to seeing you again soon. There being no further business, I declare the meeting closed. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.